This episode of Walt Disney World Today is being sponsored by Owner's Locker, which is a great service for storing all of your junk. Everyone brings a lot of stuff to Walt Disney World, a lot of stuff that you only bring to Walt Disney World on those trips. It's not stuff that you use back at home. So why not keep all that stuff in Walt Disney World in your Owner's Locker? Owner's Locker will store all that stuff for you and deliver it to your resort and pick it up when your trip is over. It's a great service. Give them a try. Visit them at www.ownerslocker.com.
This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Monday, July 28th, 2008, and this is episode 441 of Walt Disney World Today. I'm Matt Hochberg of StudioCentral.com. On the show today, Justin, it's Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Welcome, Mike.
I literally just walked right in the door.
Right on time.
Thank you.
Sort of.
40 minutes late.
Yeah, Central Time Zone, you're all set, Mike.
Hey, you know what, Matt? Dock me.
I'll dock your exactly. Also joining us is Mike Scopa of allears.net. Welcome, Mike.
Warning, remain in your vehicle. The area you are entering is extremely dangerous. Proceed with caution.
Alien, great movie ride.
Correctamundo.
And also joining us is Len Testa, co-author of the Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World. Welcome on.
How's it going, Matt?
Outstanding.
Excellent. How's my wedding invitation coming?
Dotting the I's, crossing the T's, getting the postage.
Liar. Go ahead.
And also joining us today, once again, is the publisher and co-author of many of the Passporter guidebooks, as well as the MouseFest chairman himself. It's Dave Marks. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Thank you.
Dave, I think with that title, MouseFest chairman, you have to have like a Scrooge McDuck outfit or something, just a man about town.
The big top hat.
That's right.
How'd you know I have a Scrooge McDuck outfit?
It's July, and that means it's the perfect opportunity to talk about stuff that's going on in December. That's, of course, MouseFest. And, we joke about that, but it really is coming very fast. And now is as good time as ever to talk about it. But, Mike Scopa, some people are new to our show, and they may not be familiar with MouseFest. Can you, in like 30 seconds or less, explain what MouseFest is?
Oh, boy. Okay. In 30 seconds or less, MouseFest is a gathering of Disney fans that occurs once a year. It takes place in Walt Disney World during usually the second weekend in December. And at that time, all the Disney internet communities get together and we have a great time going to meets in the parks. We have a huge Mega Mouse meet on that Saturday, and we get a chance to see each other once a year, and it's a great time, and we get to talk about all things Disney.
That's right. The dates for MouseFest 2008 are December 7th to the 11th. We'll start it off with the 4-night Disney Wonder Cruise, followed by the land events that are occurring in Walt Disney World from December 11th to the 15th. Now, Dave, obviously with you being the chairman of MouseFest, can you explain also to some of our newer listeners, or maybe those who are unaware or unfamiliar with MouseFest, kind of the structure of events for MouseFest?
Well, there are different kinds of events, so there are different kinds of structures. But basically, what we have, these are mostly community meets, the same kind of meets that everybody who's a member of an online community who has ever had a meet at Disney World might do. You might go for a ride on Space Mountain all together, or you might dine somewhere jointly, like at a beer garden or something like that. Mm-hmm. Or you might get together with more than 500 other like-minded people and visit tables staffed by all sorts of people who are willing to give you autographs, like myself or like Len, or notable people like Mike and Mike, and who are willing to talk about what they do and be glad to meet fans or not such fans. I don't think anybody has received a cream pie yet, so I think we're doing pretty well on that regard. And that's the Mega Mouse meet. And on the cruise, of course, it's mostly hanging out and enjoying the cruise together, and we usually have a few meets at Castaway Cay. Might get together for drinks once or twice during the course of the cruise, but because cruises are what they are, you manage to just enjoy the whole cruise with all these wonderful traveling companions.
You're right. The cruise is a great experience. Myself and Mr. Newell had the opportunity to try out a MouseFest cruise for the first time in 2007, and it's a wonderful event. I'm going to put a link in the show notes to some of the audio that we did on that cruise, which was just a lot of fun to do. And Dave, can you talk a little bit more about the cruises? I think it's really overshadowed by the land events, but the MouseFest cruise is a fantastic opportunity to really get to know a lot of the people in the Disney World internet community, because it's just such a different experience from the land portion.
Well, it is. I mean, partly because you've got this wonderful contained area. You've got the ship. You've only got a few dining rooms, and a lot of the people are going to wind up dining together because they may have booked through the same travel agent, and so it's a group booking, and we've got dozens of tables filled with people. We'll get together for the sail away party and take over one side of Deck 10 just to blow bubbles and get to know each other. It's like the same thing is true of a cruise for any family or group situation. You know, when you've got the theme parks, as wonderful as the theme parks are, I'm certainly not going to diss the theme parks. You tend to be focused on the parks,
right?
And so it's what are we going to do next? What are we going to ride next? And trying to hold everybody together, because as soon as people separate, the chances of reconnecting are next to nil. On a cruise, you can. Well, who's going to be at bingo at 4:00? Okay, well, we'll see whoever's going to be at bingo at 4:00, and other people are getting together at 5:00 in one of the lounges. And when you come out of bingo, you can traipse over to the lounge and know you're going to find some people there who didn't want to play bingo, and it's like that throughout the cruise. And so it just becomes more of an extended family. When you're MouseFest on land, everybody's wearing their MouseFest buttons or badges, and so you see somebody who's part of MouseFest, you can wave to them and chat. Hey, which community are you from? Oh, I'm with this community or that community. Oh, I'm a member of that one, and I'm also a member of this one and a member of the other one. What's your name over there? And you get to do a bit of that, but it's not nearly as intensive as it is on the cruise, because you don't have this lovely 11 decks and worth of ship to hold you in one place.
Right. MouseFest is just a great opportunity for members of all Disney internet communities, big and small, to really congregate in one time in one place. Because, Dave, like you mentioned before, is that a lot of people are members not of just one particular community. They'll be a member of like Passporter, but they'll also be a member of All Ears Net, and they might be a podcast listener here at WW Today. Obviously, what may have happened in the past is, each community would have an event, at a different time of the year, but now this allows everyone to come down at once, so it really helps kind of kill multiple birds with one stone, so to speak. So,
in a sense, it's also. It really grew out. This has been in its various forms. This has been going on for probably a dozen years or more since the internet communities really began to emerge, and because we're doing it in early December, because so many people who know that it's good to be there in early December are already there.
Right.
And so there are a whole lot of people who are coming for vacation, whether or not there's a MouseFest. The fact that there's MouseFest as well is icing on the cake.
Absolutely.
Now that MouseFest has become as what it is, we're also finding a lot of people who are coming down just for the sake of MouseFest. But it's really not what it's all about. What it's all about is enjoying a Disney vacation and finding ways to add even greater enjoyment by sharing it with your friends.
Scopa, what brings you to MouseFest every year?
I think what Dave said pretty much hits the nail on the head. It's that one time that I'm guaranteed to see as many of my friends as possible when I'm down in Disney World. Any other time that I go down, it's a gamble as to when I would probably run into Dave or Len or Mike. You live down there, so I have no choice. But
Thanks,
what
Mike.
Dave said is exactly it. What I like about MouseFest is that it guarantees that I'm going to see 50, 100, 200, 300, God knows how many of my friends that one time of the year. So that in itself is a big draw.
Now, Dave, there's some big changes here for 2008, especially regarding the Mega Mouse Meet. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about what's new for the Mega Mouse Meet for this year?
Well, I guess what's new The Mega Mouse Meet is like a convention hall, it is a convention hall event. We may have 50 tables or so occupied by communities and authors and podcasters and booksellers and maybe some sellers of Disneyana, that kind of thing. Lots of tables filled with lots of stuff to do. But normally we have been holding it at a non-Disney resort, just because that's the way things happen to turn out.
Right.
This year, for the first time, we are coming 100% into the world of Disney property and holding the Mega Mouse Meet at the Yacht and Beach Club Convention Center.
Nice.
Which is going to be really cool. We have a park of the day for every day of Mouse Fest, and Saturdays has always been Epcot, and so it's really nice being at Yacht and Beach, where we're that much closer to Epcot, and just a very short walk over there. And on top of that, lots of people love Yacht and Beach as a place to stay. We're not asking that you do stay at Yacht and Beach, but who's going to knock Stormalong Bay or Beaches and Cream and all the things that people love about Yacht and Beach is all now going to be part of Mouse Fest. So that's the biggest thing. And in conjunction with that, of course, is that Mouse Fest has arranged for a reduced rate at Yacht and Beach for Mouse Fest for those who want to take advantage of it.
That's right. There's a special rate from December 11th to 14th that starts at $243 per night plus tax for staying at Disney's Yacht and Beach Club, which is a great resort, great rate for that resort. I was telling Len about that back in Magic Meets, Len, and you were
that's
you
a
were
great
shocked
rate.
by that.
Yeah, it's a fabulous rate. That's an easy $100 off a night, right?
Yeah.
Probably
more
much.
than that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. That's not bad at all.
And Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm seeing here for all reservations of 2 or more nights at Yacht and Beach, all registered guests in the room will receive free MouseFest registration?
That's right.
Wow.
Boy, you're setting them up. I could just knock them out of the park
That's
here.
right. I'm just lobbing them in for you.
Yep.
Meatballs.
We thought we would sweeten the pot, sweeten the deal, to an even greater extent. So yeah, MouseFest registration. That's something we've only really started last year, which was I'm not going to say it's you're getting a huge amount of money out of this. It's not like some conventions where you're spending thousands of dollars to attend. This is just MouseFest registration is somewhere in the $15 to $20 per person range. We have some costs that we haven't nailed down for this year yet, so we don't know exactly what it'll be, but it's going to be around $15 to $20 per person, and we're tossing that in for every registered guest for people who book this deal for MouseFest at the Yacht and Beach.
Wow, it's a great deal. And registration is something that was new last year, as you mentioned, in the form that it is currently. Can you tell our listeners a little bit more about why you would want to register for MouseFest? Because you don't have to register for MouseFest.
No, the MouseFest, especially since it started as a bunch of community meets, and as we know from going to community meets, usually the only thing you do is pay your own freight. If it's a meal, you pay for the cost of the meal, or if it's a Illuminations boat, you pay for your share of the boat trip. Right. And that's still true of almost everything we do at MouseFest. You pay your direct cost, if there is a cost. You pay for your own admission to the parks, of course, but everything else is free. And it still is that way. If you want to show up at an event, maybe the host will ask you to RSVP, maybe not, but pretty much it's free to come. But there are also a huge amount of the bigger mouse. Ironically, sometimes they talk about the economies of scale. Actually, the bigger an event gets at a place like Disney, the more expensive it gets to make it happen. And so we found we just needed to ask folks to chip in something towards keeping MouseFest running. That helps with getting the large space for the Mega Mouse Meet and also various other organizational details. In return, though, I mean, if you add up what we're offering in return, you'd wonder how we're actually getting any money out of you. Because for each attendee, you'll get a custom ID badge and badge holder and lanyard, a cloisonne pin. We'll be mailing you that, which is really cool because MouseFest it's not like a typical thing where you're going to show up at a hotel and sign in at the beginning of the event. MouseFest, just you sort of hit the ground running and you go to your first meet. So your registration materials are all mailed out to you, so the cost of mailing is also included. There's also the Pocket Guide to MouseFest, which is probably this year going to be a 75-page or larger book listing all the events that are happening during MouseFest and who's participating and all that good stuff. And we try to get a few extra discounts from various folks who may, want to sweeten the pie for you, expose you to their services. And I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but those are the big ones.
Yeah, I highly recommend that you register for MouseFest. It's just a great opportunity for you to help support the community, and it is great just to be able to get even the lanyard because it easily makes you identifiable to everyone else out there. It's such a conversation piece. You'll be on the Disney bus somewhere, and you'll see someone with a lanyard, or they'll see you, and you'll instantly start a conversation. It's great. I highly recommend you take care of that. Dave, do we have a date for when registrations will begin?
Not a hard date yet. We're looking sometime within the next week or two. That's the target. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, we have some costs that we're still trying to nail down. Sure. And if we can nail them down in the next week or so, then we'll be able to start registration up right away. If we don't, we're probably going to just take a wild guess at what those costs are and still open up registration because people want to do it, and why should we hold you back, right?
Absolutely. For all the information about registration, about that special rate at the Out & Beach Club, which is available to anybody, and all the other information about MouseFest, including events and schedules of park days and the dates that I mentioned, all that great information will be at www.mousefest.org. We'll have a link in the show notes to all this information so you can get it very handy. Dave, thanks so much for coming on and talking with us about MouseFest.
Thanks for having me on.
And again, this episode of Walt Disney World Today has been sponsored by Owner's Locker, a great service for storing all of your junk and having it delivered to your resort during MouseFest. Have it all sent to your resorts. When you get that great $243 a night rate at the Out & Beach Club, you'll have your Owner's Locker bin waiting for you all over there as well. It's a great service. Give them a try. Visit them at www.ownerslocker.com. If you want to find our older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, visit the Walt Disney World Today website at www.today.com. For Len Testa, Mike Silva, Mike Newell, and Dave Marks, I'm Matt Hodgeford. We'll see you on the next show.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.